Hi guys, and welcome back to our Malifaux Masters breakdown, where we showcase the factions and personalities vying for soulstones and dominance within the Broken City. This episode features the updated title cards for both Pandora and Colette Dubois, as well as their shared enforcer Dorian Crowe. First up, we have the leader of the Neverborn woes, Pandora, who's now sporting the title of Tyrant Torn as she contends with the furious entities that are vying for her psyche. Pandora retains all of her base stats and attributes, but has received a complete rework in terms of the abilities that she brings to the table. No longer terrifying or able to control enemy activations, the Tyrant Torn instead boasts the Luck Thief defensive ability, which converts enemy positive flips against her to negatives, while also offering a heal should any actions targeting the Master fail. Continuing the theme of Fortune, Pandora can also draw a card at the end of her activation thanks to Nefarious Pact, while the Aspect of Fortune ability allows her to cheat fate from the top card of her deck, often protecting your control hand. Finally, Pandora's Opportunist and Misery abilities are instead replaced by the Expose Fears trait, which extends a 10-inch aura that can move enemy models 2 inches after they suffer damage from Misery, effectively meaning that you gain both benefits of the skill rather than the choice under the original version of the Master. Moving over to the back of her card, and the Tyrant Torn has retained the 10-inch range typical to her actions. Her headline act is the Woe Is Me tactical action, an unopposed summon against a stunned enemy that requires a 9 of masks to bring in any Woe minion with slow, while also featuring a trigger to instead resummon your significant poltergeist totem if it's fallen during the battle. The scope of this ability is exceptional, from summoning a Leech-Life Sorrow in the middle of an opposing crew to throwing an aversion near a vital objective to push the opponent away. Adding to this is Pandora's new bonus action, Compounding Emotions, which for a 6 can end any condition on 2 models within 6 inches, before then replacing them with 2 new conditions at a value of 1. Both triggers offer nice incidental bonuses, but the real meat of this ability is to augment allies or debuff enemies around you each turn to tip the scales in your favour. Moving over to attack actions, and Pandora's Weight of Despair attack action features a method of putting out stunned at long range for your summons, while also featuring a nice damage bonus if the target is already afflicted. At stat 6 with a potential 2/4/5 damage track and a discard trigger, it's a potent tool at long range. On the other hand, the aptly named No Shelter Here attack features the same stats and range, but instead of immediate damage, instead pushes an enemy 4 inches before creating a 3-inch hazardous aura to other enemy models to deal with. This ability looks to be the bane of bubble crews, with an incidental sorrow summon and the effects of Expose Fears really racking up the damage on subsequent activations. Tyrant Torn Pandora excels at compounding the ping damage generated by her Woe keyword thanks to her Expose Fears ability and the No Shelter Here attack action to generate hazardous auras. Her ideal scenario is to summon on a stunned enemy before ripping away the slow of the summon and replacing it with something more effective with Compounding Emotions. Early turn activations can really push limits on the opponent, and the Tyrant Torn is able to protect your control hand thanks to her Aspect of Fortune in Nefarious Pact. To this end, it could also be recommended to equip this version with the Ancient Pact upgrade for the important ability to ignore the effects of the Black Joker, as well as adding +1 to your initiative flips. Additionally, a decent amount of soul stones are necessary to facilitate Woe Is Me, but don't be afraid to also stone for the excellent triggers on Compounding Emotions where needed, especially when it comes to the Toxic Family heal over 6 inches. Rounding off, here's an example list to try out should you want to give the new Pandora a run out, taking full advantage of a variety of sources of stunned while also adding some much needed speed and maneuverability to ensure that she remains in the ideal position to threaten enemy forces. From here, you can also take advantage of summoning minions to tie up the opposition, while your core group secures schemes and strategies. You may have noticed a new name lurking in that example list in the form of Dorian Crowe, a 7 Soulstone Enforcer model that's shared between the Performer and Woe keywords. Dorian sports excellent stats across the board for his meagre cost, while also sitting on a 40mm base to extend the reach of his abilities. His 7 hit points are protected by the Incorporeal ability, which allows him to reduce damage and move through obstructing objects, while solid defense and willpower make him a tough target. In terms of keyword abilities, he borrows the always excellent Don't Mind Me from the Performers, while his bespoke Misery and Opportunist traits target the distracted condition as well as stunned. Moving to the back of Crowe's card, his 2 bonus actions offer great tactical versatility depending on the state of the battlefield. In early turns, you'll want to take advantage of the losing interest 6-inch pulse, which can move friendly unengaged models 2 inches, as well as Dorian himself to mitigate his move of 4. The Ennui trigger offers an additional bonus by providing a quick heal or condition removal if you need it. In later turns, you might consider the 6-inch aura of Boring Conversation, which can additionally be triggered from one of Crowe's attack actions to reduce the ability of enemies to take non-walk actions when they're nearby. Speaking of those attack actions, the cigarette holder offers a great stat 6 source of Burning and Distracted, with a built-in trigger to gain 3 shielded at a cost of a card and ending Dorian's activation. On the other hand, the outstanding Disapproving Glance is able to push a model 4 inches towards a target marker once per activation, with the added bonus of potentially removing it. Both triggers also feature a way of pinging Dorian's misery for additional damage or movement on enemies, but don't miss the value that this can bring to your own forces too. On the table, Dorian has 2 distinct phases of gameplay, with the first being his movement support and the second to score UVP and shut out high-profile targets. A common first turn will see Crowe pulse out losing interest before moving an ally with Disapproving Glance, both for low card requirements. As contact with the enemy is then made, expect the Socialite to mingle with the main scrum, where he can dish out Distracted, as well as also securing a scheme of strat points thanks to his Don't Mind Me and surprisingly tanky defences. Dorian features as an excellent option for both WoW and Performer crews, and even has mileage in the Neverborn out of keyword due to the versatile movement of his actions and their general targeting requirements not being restricted to his keywords. Finally, we have the matriarch of the Star Theatre, Colette Dubois, who gains the title of Smuggler to represent the illicit soulstone contraband that she's known for moving on behalf of the Arcanist faction. Colette retains her wounds, willpower and Don't Mind Me ability, but levels up with an increase to both defense and movement up to a stat of 6. Her serene countenance has instead been replaced with the disguise and evasive defensive traits, while the burial mechanic of Fade Away is gone completely. In its place comes the Now You See Me ability, which resolves after an enemy attack action targeting Colette to place her in base contact with a friendly decoy marker within 4 inches before removing it and giving the attacker Distracted. The aforementioned decoy markers are a new mechanic Smuggler Colette can make good use of. Thanks to the release of the Dove's trait, her 3 totems are treated as such markers, and can boost the Master with shielded +2 if she chooses to remove them from the game. It's not just the totems though, as the Smoke and Mirrors bonus action can allow Colette to drop decoy markers in base contact of herself for a card value of a 3, before then placing herself within 4 inches for some extra movement. For an additional Crowe, the trigger Sleight of Hand also adds a Soulstone to Colette's pool, living up to her new title's name. All these decoy markers do serve an overall purpose through Colette's second tactical action, Routine Performance, which allows the Master to arc general or attack actions through such markers, ignoring range and line of sight. At a stat 7, needing an 11, this incredibly powerful ability can be used to dramatically alter the battlefield, especially when the markers in question are your totems who've already advanced further up. 4 rams will also denote the Red Herring trigger, which can pulse out 2 damage within the chosen marker to enemies who fail a TN13 willpower duel. Moving over to the Master's attack actions, and we have 1 melee and 1 ranged, with the former being Magical Flourish, a stat 5 with a positive flip against defense that can gain +2 to the flip if the target is near scheme markers. On a hit, a respectable 134 damage track and a 4-inch placement offer the best of both worlds, though it is worth noting that the latter has to be completely within its original location. In terms of triggers, Beautiful Clothes offers an additional Distracted, but it's shell game on a mask that's the real highlight, instead placing the target in base contact with a decoy marker within 8 inches. Finally, Colette's Phantasmal Prism is perhaps her most useful attack at a stat 6 against willpower. It grants a 2-3-4 damage track with either Distracted or Staggered. The additional Tome trigger of Close-Up Magic allows you to summon in a new mechanical dove once per turn, meaning those mobile decoys can continue to offer opportunities for the routine performance. On the table, Smuggler Colette can flex between support and aggressive scheming thanks to her excellent toolbox of abilities. The low card requirements of her tactical actions, coupled with the inbuilt positive on Magical Flourish, mean that she isn't very card intensive, and the ability to generate Soulstone through her bonus action can facilitate interesting lists that are elite heavy. Make no mistake, Routine Performance is instantly one of the most powerful abilities in the game, able to set the tone on strategies in early turns and control the battlefield later through Magical Flourish. Add in the Performer's Henchman of Cassandra Felton and her upstage ability, and you have a great deal of avenues to exploit your fast doves for even greater, though don't be surprised if the enemy singles them out quickly for death. Finally, at move 6 with a 4-inch place on a bonus action, and don't mind me, Smuggler Colette can go super solo when needed to secure you vital victory points, and with healthy defences and disguise can be very survivable when needed. If you'd like to take the new Colette out for a spin, then consider the following example list that makes the most out of her independent keyword models to press for scheme and strategy points while the Master controls the enemy from the wings thanks to her mechanical doves. The Coryphée Duet poses a significant threat in melee, while both Carlos and Angelica can take the wings to tie up your key targets. So that brings us to the end of this Malifaux Master breakdown. We hope it's been useful and given you a snapshot of the new titles and their mechanics. For more talk about these updated title cards, why not check out the podcast The Harlefaux Show later today, where we'll be breaking down all the changes and their effects on their respective keywords. Alternatively, if you'd like to see these models on the table, we'll have a full battle report between the two new releases that you'll be able to watch premiere right here on YouTube. Finally, we'd like to say a massive thank you to Weird Games for providing these materials, and also recommend that you check out the Boring Conversation podcast for the next set of content previews. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Well, a massive thank you for watching that video, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to find some more, they should be over here. And if you want to support the channel and the content that we create here, there's links to our Patreon and merchandise in the description below. Take care.